The young boy stood behind the stage curtain, his heart pounding so loudly that he could barely hear the noise of the crowd. The stage lights were blinding even from a distance, and the judges' table gleamed under the glow. This was his dream moment, but also the scariest thing he had ever done. He had chosen to sing one of the hardest songs ever performed on the show, a song so technically demanding that even professional singers struggled with it. Yet, he wasn't here to prove anything to anyone. He was here because music was his escape, his only friend, the one thing that made him feel seen. When his name was called, he walked out slowly, clutching the microphone with shaking fingers. The audience gave a polite applause, unsure what to expect from such a young contestant. Simon Cowell leaned forward, studying the boy's nervous face. The boy introduced himself softly, his voice trembling but sincere. "My name is Liam," he said, barely above a whisper. "I'm 12 years old, and I'll be singing one of my favorite songs." A small ripple of surprise ran through the audience when he announced the song choice. Even the judges exchanged glances. It was one of those songs most adults would hesitate to touch. But there he was, a little boy with big dreams, standing under the massive spotlight. The music started softly, the piano melody echoing through the hall, and Liam took a deep breath. The first note left his lips, and instantly, the room fell silent. His voice wasn't just good, it was pure, controlled, and filled with emotion. There was something haunting about it, the way he carried every word with feeling far beyond his years. He wasn't just singing, he was telling a story, pouring every ounce of his heart into each note. Simon's expression changed from curiosity to quiet awe. The other judges leaned in, listening closely, as if afraid to miss a single breath. The boy's tone rose higher, reaching impossible pitches with effortless grace. It wasn't the sound of a child imitating an adult, it was the sound of someone born to perform. As he reached the middle of the song, the stage lights shifted from cool blue to golden warmth. Liam closed his eyes, his hand gripping the microphone as if it were the only thing keeping him standing. The camera zoomed in on his face, you could see the emotion, the pain, the hope, all written in the way he sang. The audience watched in disbelief. People started nodding, whispering, some even wiping tears. He sang as if he was living the song, not just performing it. His voice cracked slightly, not out of weakness, but from passion. It made the performance even more real. The final part of the song approached, the section every singer fears, the high, sustained note that defines the entire piece. The orchestra swelled behind him, and the lights flared. Liam took one deep breath, lifted his head, and delivered the note with stunning precision. The sound filled the entire arena, strong and beautiful, echoing off the walls. It was perfect, the kind of note that gives you goosebumps, the kind of moment that makes time stop. The audience couldn't hold back anymore. They stood up, clapping wildly even before the song ended. Tears streamed down the boy's face as he hit the last few gentle notes, his voice trembling with emotion but never breaking. When he finally finished, the applause was deafening. Everyone in the hall rose to their feet. The judges stood too, clapping with smiles that said everything. Heidi covered her mouth in shock, Howie shook his head in disbelief, and Sophia wiped her eyes. But it was Simon who caught everyone's attention. He sat still for a few seconds, staring at the young boy as if trying to process what had just happened. Then, without a word, he reached forward and slammed the golden buzzer. The hall erupted in cheers as golden confetti burst into the air. Liam gasped, covering his mouth as the glitter rained down on him. His mother ran from backstage, tears streaming down her face, and wrapped him in a tight hug. The boy couldn't stop crying, tears of joy, disbelief, and relief. Simon stood up and walked toward the stage, smiling warmly. "Liam," he said, his voice filled with pride, "that was one of the most powerful performances I've ever seen. You didn't just sing that song, you lived it." The crowd roared even louder, chanting his name as the confetti continued to fall. The camera zoomed in on Liam's face, his eyes full of wonder. This was the moment every dreamer waits for, the moment that changes everything. A few hours ago, he was just a boy with a voice and a dream. Now, he was a name the world would remember. He looked around, soaking in the sight of the golden lights, the applause, and Simon's proud expression. It didn't feel real, but it was. His courage had carried him through the fear, and his heart had carried him through the song. As he left the stage, still covered in gold, the crowd was still cheering. Backstage, he hugged his mother again and whispered, "Mom, I did it." She nodded, unable to speak through her tears. Simon watched from the side, smiling to himself, knowing he had just discovered something rare, a voice that could move the world. That night, the video of Liam's audition spread like wildfire online. Millions of people watched in awe, many saying it was one of the best covers ever sung by someone so young. In just a few minutes, the shy boy who had once been afraid to sing in front of anyone became an overnight sensation. It wasn't just a performance, it was a miracle in music form, proof that talent and heart can break through anything.